Welcome to another episode of NPC Players Pulse. I'm your host, N64 Josh. Tonight, we're going to be ranking all of Nintendo's console launches. I have my list. You guys are going to have to let me know if you agree. Okay, well, I am going to jump right into this thing as people are rolling in for the live show. And I think the bottom of the list, we're doing every console. Now, when I say every console, I don't mean we're going to do the Game Boy Advance and then the Game Boy Advance SP, right? We're not doing the different variations. We're just focusing on the main launch for that console. And the first one is going all the way back to 1995. 1995. And that is the Virtual Boy. Bottom of our list is Virtual Boy. Notable launch games: Mario's Tennis and Red Alarm. Fun facts: the Virtual Boy was discontinued in under a year due to poor sales and migraines. I had somebody ask in the stream, what is the Virtual Boy? So if you play Animal Crossing, at least New Leaf, I can't remember if it's in New Horizons or not, but you can collect the Virtual Boy, and it's this strange looking VR headset with legs. And the local retro game store near me has one of the displays that Nintendo used to use. And you can still stick your head in the machine and see how bad it was. Because it was bad. It was very bad. This was all red, and it literally caused migraines. And what I find interesting, I want to look this up real quick, but I think it basically brought shame to his name was Gunpei Yokoi, and because of it, he ended up, I think he ended up leaving Nintendo. This is the guy that helped with the NES, helped with the Game Boy, and then helped with Virtual Boy. So here he goes. Amid the failure of the Virtual Boy and the launch of the more successful Game Boy Pocket, Yokoi left Nintendo on August 15th, 1996, after 31 years at the company, leaving with several of his subordinates to form a new company called Koto. Yokoi led the development of the Bandai WonderSwan handheld game console, which also didn't do too well as far as I know. We can take a quick peek here. Looks like it came out in 99. They did a couple of different re-releases up until 2003. So from 99 to 2003, it did 3.5 million combined. Not entirely terrible, but wasn't something I ever touched. Interesting history with Gunpei Yokoi. And very, very interesting stuff with him. And so sad to see somebody that was so critical to the success of Nintendo, so crucial to the success of Nintendo, upon taking a risk with Virtual Boy, ended up having to leave the company. So Virtual Boy at the bottom of the list. Now, I bet you the next one's probably going to be pretty easy to guess. and it was the Wii U. The Wii U is the next on our list. We're going from the bottom to the top. Okay, Wii U. Notable launch games: Nintendo Land, Super Mario Brothers U, Zombie U. Fun facts. Everybody was confused. Nobody knew if it was a new console or an add-on. And that was a huge bummer. A huge bummer because, well, some of the best games on Switch came from the Wii U, including Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Best-selling game on Switch was a Wii U game. It was a fantastic system. It was a lot of fun to play. A lot of fun to play. But because of the terrible name and the terrible marketing, nobody really knew what it was. And it was so good. It was so good. So it's really sad that it did not do better. So I see Oak is here over on YouTube. Welcome on in. Sunshine over on Twitch. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. So Wii U after the Virtual Boy. So Virtual Boy, the bottom of that list, followed by the Wii U. Next up, Game Boy Advance, 2001. That's next on my list. Notable launch games: Castlevania, Circle of the Moon, Super Mario Advance, and F-Zero Maximum Velocity. So it's very similar launch games to Super Nintendo with the F-Zero game and Super Mario Advance. But there weren't like I remember buying the Game Boy Advance. I imported one from Japan so I could get a black one. But the most memorable games I remember playing on it were the Metroid games. Played a lot of Super Circuit, played Street Fighter on it. I think it was a Street Fighter 2. Outside of that, I don't have like, there was a Turtles game that was good. I never played like a Zelda game like Minish Cap and stuff like that, like I should have. I loved like Metroid Zero Mission and Fusion. Some of my like absolute favorites on the system. But the most fun I had with the system was passing it back and forth with a buddy while we were at work, playing Sonic and trying to do time trials to see who could beat the level the fastest. We were essentially speed running. So that was really fun. That same buddy went with me. We went to Russia together to play music, and the whole band got Game Boy Advances with the link cable, and we linked up and we're playing on the plane. Funny story about that. This was like 2002. I was playing Metroid and was like, I just got bombs. Not a good thing to say on a plane in 2002. Thankfully, nobody heard that. And then after that trip, one of the guys left their Game Boy in the back seat on the plane, and it was lost forever. So that was a sad day. But yeah, so Game Boy Advance, number 10. Number 10, Sunshine is saying that could have been so bad. Yeah, no, I know. I was so excited. I just got bombs. I remember the people I was with were like, you gotta shut up. You gotta shut up. So yeah, thank goodness no one heard it. Yeah, those were good times. Good times. Well, next up, number 9 on my list is the Nintendo DS. Notable launch games: Super Mario 64 DS, Feel the Magic, XY and XX, and Asphalt Urban GT. I remember picking this system up probably, I don't remember getting it right when it launched. I assume if I remember correctly, it was probably a little bit after it launched because I think I got a blue one, and when they launched, I think they were just silver or gray. And so it was I mean, this is one of my favorite Nintendo consoles of all time. But as far as the launch goes, not memorable for me at all. And I remember I don't know if you guys remember when the DS was first announced and it was like 2 screens. Like, what do we need that for? And the stylus, and then they forced you to play certain games with a stylus. And it was like, I don't want to play Zelda with a stylus or Ninja Gaiden with a stylus. But then, it worked. It worked, and it ended up, as far as our fun facts go, becoming the best selling handheld of all time. Like, the thing did fantastic. And some of my most fond memories are at my parents' cabin. My kids all had one, and I think I had at least one extra one. And my dad, and I've told this story on here before, but my dad playing Mario Kart with us, and he's driving backwards, and my kids are just laughing so hard. Like, they thought it was the funniest thing ever that Grandpa was driving backwards on the track, and he knew what he was doing, but he loved making the kids laugh. So he was, but just such a it was so great to be in a place like in the woods in this cabin, somewhat disconnected from everything, but still being able to game on the DS. It was just a really good time. It was a very fun. I look back on my time with the DS very fondly. Like Mario Mario Kart DS, one of my favorite Mario Karts. It was so good. It was so good. It was such an improvement over Super Circuit. It's up there in probably the top 5 Mario Karts for me. It is that good. And it still holds up. You can still go back and play it. That's a testament to it. I really hope that this is the year that DS games make their way to Switch so that we can play Mario Kart DS once again, because it was good. It was so good. But as far as the launch goes, I don't know, for me anyway, I don't remember it being all that memorable. So it's sitting at number 9. Number 8. Number 8 is the Nintendo Wii. The Nintendo Wii. Notable launch games: Wii Sports, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Excite Truck, and Trauma Center Second Opinion. I don't know if you guys ever played Trauma Center, but doing surgery with a Wii remote or a stylus, those were the days, let me tell you. Those were the days. They were actually really fun, kind of like puzzle games, but they took place in a in a hospital, and you would have to do surgery. And it was it's a little better with the stylus on the DS than it was on the Wii. But there were some fantastic titles on the Wii. Oh, Cryptic says, "Wow, you're crazy." Okay. What? Cryptic, tell me where you put the Wii. Tell me where you put the Wii. I want to know. There were some fantastic titles on the Wii. Outside of your typical, Mario Galaxy was amazing. Right? Galaxy was amazing. Now, everybody, if you guys remember when the Wii came out, everybody was trying to get it just to bowl, right? Just to bowl. Wow, Cryptic says Wii Sports and Twilight Princess were just as good as Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. I hear you. I did not love motion controls on Twilight Princess. Wii Sports got the most playtime up until Mario Kart, and then Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. And again, what's real interesting is my parents' cabin is where I beat Galaxy 1 and 2. Like I think Galaxy 1 I played all the way through when I first got it, but 2 I didn't. I was so into hunting achievements on 360 that I didn't play much of Galaxy 2, and it wasn't until a few years later that I took the Wii to the cabin, week-long vacation. I'm like, this is my, after everybody would fall asleep at night, that's what I was playing. Great time with it. What I loved about that is my son, Gavin, he would not be into games until he saw me playing them, and then he would want to play that specific game. Like he did that all the time. All the time. So then he jumped in and played Galaxy 2 as well. And so, super fond memories of that system. Don't get me wrong. And my like getting the Wii, I had a buddy who worked at GameStop or Game Crazy. I think it was a GameStop. I think it was in a mall. I don't think Game Crazies were in malls. And he was like, yo, I got one behind the counter for you. I'm pretty sure we got it, went home, and then like a day or two later had to fly from California back to Washington and brought that thing with, and we played it all through that holiday. And it was fantastic. But I did not get the initial run. I had to wait a little bit because they were just too hard to come by. They were sold out. So yeah, but I have it at number 8. Okay. Fun facts: Wii Sports was the ultimate casual crowd pleaser, and it really was. The Wii became a hit with non-gamers, but some hardcore players were left wanting more traditional games at launch. Very true. Completely true. One more fun fact about the Wii is there was a website, and I can't remember the URL, but it was strictly dedicated to people posting pictures of them throwing their Wii remotes through their TVs or into the sheetrock or hitting their overhead lights as they were playing tennis. And like, remember, like Nintendo was like, make sure you use your wrist straps, and then they ended up sending the rubber cover that you would have to put on your Wii remote so that it wouldn't do as much damage to televisions. Like, people would swing those Wii remotes so hard. Cryptic says, actually thinking about it, you're right. LOL. But I think Wii Sports, as far as impact, makes Wii launch something special. Oh, it is. There's no question. It was, and Cryptic says it was AC Horizons level, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. It's not like the most difficult thing about making a list like this is somebody or one of the systems has got to be at number 8, right? Like there's no way around it. And so it isn't that it's like necessarily bad. It's just, it's somewhat based on like my excitement level, kind of when I got it, and what games launched with it. That's all. This one's going to surprise you. Because again, I'm trying to go through it's hard to decide. It's hard to put some of these against each other. But my number 7 is the Super Nintendo. And this was a console Christmas for me. I think the system came out around September. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I think it was around September. Might have been August, but I think it was September. My buddy got it right away. And like, the hype around Super Mario World was just like insane. And this one's a tricky one for me because like the launch of the Super Nintendo was definitely something. This is kind of crazy, honestly, but the Super Nintendo was Nintendo iterating on their last console. Very similar. The Switch 2 is so much like the Super Nintendo. It's so much like it. It's a sleeker, better graphics, better controllers. Like the games look and play better version of what they already had. And it like I don't think I had put 2 and 2 together, honestly, as I've been playing the Switch 2. But I do get the same feeling that I got from the Super Nintendo, which I've never really had from any other Nintendo system. Although the Wii U was technically iterative of the Wii, it was not. The gamepad made it completely different. That feeling, because the 64 was such a different beast, right? But and I remember vividly, like, trying to ask I was like asking my aunt, I'm like, yo, did my parents get me this? Like, did they get, I need to know. Like, did they get me the Super Nintendo? And she was like, mum's the word. She wouldn't tell me. I had to know. It was one of the best Christmases. Waking up and opening the Super Nintendo was the best. And the launch was crazy. Like, it was a special time because any commercial you saw of Super Mario World, everything just seemed bigger, better. The colors were brighter. The sprites were amazing. And, fun fact, Super Mario World introduced Yoshi. That was a huge thing. Yoshi. And then, of course, Mode 7 effects wowed players with the pseudo 3D graphics, which was crazy. Sunshine says, getting my Super Nintendo is a core memory for me as a kid. No question. Yeah. No question. The Terry Wagon says 64 was an animal compared to the SNES, but Super Mario World on the SNES is legendary. Exactly that. Yeah. It just felt like 64 felt like an entirely new experience because we were in 3D. Whereas like Super Nintendo was just taking everything the Nintendo was doing and then taking it to a next level. I love the Super Nintendo. Don't get me wrong. Again, so many incredible games. I was huge into fighting games. The whole reason I bought Street Fighter on my Switch 2 is because I had Street Fighter 2. It was one of the first games. Oh wow, it's kind of just unlocked a memory there. Like I said, my buddy Dave had the Super Nintendo launch, he got it when it launched, and I remember coming over and playing Mario, and it was like, this is so good. It's so much fun. And his mom took us, we had this little corner store called, it was just a gas station, but at the end of it, it had Highway Home Electronics. And it was just this small business, it was like a Radio Shack. But this guy, he would rent movies and games. And we rented Street Fighter. It was so crazy putting that game in, turning it on, and playing, like having the arcade in your in your living room. It was the most unbelievable feeling, being able to experience games like Street Fighter 2 in your living room. And it seemed like we didn't have to put any quarters in. We just got to play as many times as we wanted. And we stayed up. It was one of those times that we stayed up so late. We gamed our faces off. I remember having Nintendo Thumb. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but if you had to play on the old controllers, you had to use that D-pad all the time. You'd get Nintendo Thumb. You just kind of rub your thumb raw. And that was definitely happening. So, Super Nintendo launch, definitely special. Definitely special. No question there. The Terry Wagon says, favorite SNES game that isn't Super Mario World? Without hesitation, Super Metroid. Super Metroid was one of my all-time favorites, followed by Link's Awakening. I'm sorry, Link to the Past. Just absolutely incredible games. It was literally, it was peak Nintendo. It was them getting to create the games that you could tell they wanted to create with the NES, but just didn't have the horsepower for. And those were just such amazing times. Amazing times. So, yeah, Super Nintendo is my number 7. Number 6. And again, these two, they could be swapped, honestly. But there was a lot of hype around the Game Boy. The Game Boy was like handheld Nintendo, right? 1989. Notable launch games: Tetris, Super Mario Land, and Alleyway. And going back to the Super Nintendo real quick, I love Super Mario World. F-Zero, like I enjoyed, but I wasn't like a huge fan of it. Like, it was fun, but just not a huge fan. And then the other game was Pilot Wings, which is not something I didn't put any time into that one. But Game Boy, I remember my uncle and my aunt bought 2 Game Boys, brought them to Christmas. They got them for each other as like as their Christmas gifts that year. And getting to play Tetris with the link cable, and then essentially it puts you when you do that, you play as Mario and Luigi. So I got super excited when I saw that. Then Super Mario Land, I was like, game over. Like, I'm good to go. And then in Alleyway, Mario is who jumps into the little paddle that you end up controlling. For it's just an Arkanoid game or a brick breaker, like from Mario Party Jamboree, where we're all trying to get the high score, right? Like, it's just a brick breaker game. But I loved all of those games. And what's crazy for me, Tetris was probably my least favorite out of the 3. I was a huge Alleyway fan. I don't know why. It just scratched my brain in the best way possible. Super Mario Land, I mean, it's Mario. I didn't even care that the graphics weren't like all that great, and I could hear the music. Like, the music is just so good on that little speaker. And you guys have heard it mentioned on the show before, but like, people playing you're playing in the back seat of the car, waiting for the street light so that you could see where to go. And then you got to pause and wait for another street light. Then you can see a little bit more. Like, that was crazy. And also Metroid 2 on Game Boy. So good. So good. And I never owned a Game Boy. Like, I even asked my mom like a few years back, I'm like, they weren't like that expensive. Why didn't you? And she's like, she goes, I think at the time they were too expensive. But then they also, they were like, we didn't want you like gaming all the time. Like, we wanted to be able to somewhat keep tabs on you. Otherwise you just would have been gaming all the time. So I had to borrow the system and borrow a copy of Metroid 2. I believe there's 32 Metroids you have to hunt down in that game. I had done 31 the night I had to return everything, and I didn't get to complete the game. I have since completed the game on the DS, Samus Return, the remake or whatever, but never got to complete the original Metroid. And what was great though is, like, back then you typically played games for the ending. Like, you wanted to see what they were going to show at the end of the game. And you got to see that ending when you fired up Super Metroid. So I was like, all is right in the world. I finally got to see that ending that I so desperately wanted to see and wasn't able to. Taking a look at chat here, Cryptic says, although Super Mario Land 2, Pokemon, and Zelda Oracle games were my Game Boy experience. Oh yeah, those were good. The Terry Wagon says, oh, Earthworm Jim had the sound of nostalgia for me. I love that. So Game Boy 1989. If you guys want a fun movie to watch and you have Apple TV, or you even sign up for a trial, check out Tetris. The Tetris movie is a lot of fun. Definitely had some Hollywood had some fun with it, but it's very interesting getting to see just how crazy it was trying to get Tetris on the Game Boy, and how many different companies were going after that thing, because everybody knew that it was the hit, and Nintendo knew that if they got that packed in with the Game Boy, that thing was gonna sell. That was gonna sell. So great game. Okay, you guys, my top 5 launches. You guys ready for this? Number 5. And this was a hard one for me to try to decide where to put it. the Nintendo GameCube. Notable launch games: Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2 Rogue Leader, Luigi's Mansion, Wave Race Blue Storm, and Super Monkey Ball. Now, keep in mind, when I got this, it was like Smash was technically in the launch window, right? It was technically in the launch window. But like, I was so excited for GameCube. I had played a ton of 64, and GameCube was one of those systems that I was like, this was going to be like the system for me. A sequel to Perfect Dark was going to be coming out. And then Microsoft, purchased Rare, and all my hopes and dreams were crushed. But I was so stoked for this. I was gifted the GameCube on Christmas, and then every other house we went to for that holiday, somebody else had like Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Somebody had a controller. Somebody had a memory card. Like, I got like I think I had Star Wars and Extreme G Racing, I think, and then Smash. Those were the 3 games I got. Again, it was December, so it was a little ways past the launch. But I was so excited for the small discs. Nintendo was finally moving to a disc system. It was just such a special time. Like, and I know I've probably said that, like, I probably sound like a broken record, but it really was. Like, the GameCube was just such a special time. And like, holding that controller for the first time, it's still one of my favorite controllers to this day. I love my my Mario GameCube controller. Cryptic says, how can it be number 5 when you wanted Star Wars on NSO? Needs to be higher. Well, I think again, I know. This is not it's not easy. It's not easy putting these together. The handle, right? Guys, I bought a Sony Wega, I think is what it was called, Trinitron Wega, 32-inch flat screen TV. This is before, so it was a tube TV, but it was flat. The thing weighed a ton. I had to pick that thing up by myself and put it up on the entertainment center. Like, it was so heavy, but it had component outs, and I was able to get I had the component cables for the GameCube, and was able to see what the GameCube looked like at peak visuals. All right, like, and I mean, the Switch 2 got me, right? I went and got a new TV because of the Switch 2. The GameCube got me the same way. I had to see what the component, because I went from the composite to the S video to component. Some of you guys are scratching your heads right now going, what is S video? What is component? Like, everything's just HDMI now. It's just easy. Now, we had 3 different connections back then, depending on the type of TV you had. And then eventually the component cables would work on like HD, and you could turn on progressive scan. So you'd go from 480i to 480p. Crazy. Just absolutely crazy. And so it was a special time. GameCube is a fantastic system. And seeing GameCube on NSO now with games like Soul Calibur was so good. The games we talked about, GameCube games not that long ago, right? Like, so many fantastic titles on GameCube. And so it is my number 5. Number 4 is the Nintendo 64. 1996. Notable launch games: Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings 64. And our fun facts: Super Mario 64 was a game changer for 3D platformers. Next level. And it was a 96. I was like a freshman in high school, probably. And so I got the system a bit late, not super late, but a bit late. And when I picked it up with Mario Kart and GoldenEye. And I mean, again, insane. Fast forward until Perfect Dark came out. Like, this is where my love for shooters really, really started. The reason I still play inverted to this day is because of GoldenEye. That was the default setting. I think you could change it. But then I was listening to somebody recently on a podcast. They play inverted because of Mario 64. And I was like, yeah, the 64 got them too. Cryptic said, fun fact, Josh's launch for Mario 64 was like 3 years ago. Yes. Yep. Yeah, I didn't play through that game until, just like 3-4 years ago. And it was great. Like, it was great. Like, I loved when I finally played through it. So I see Army Life is here. What's going on? Welcome in. But again, very special time in gaming. The N64, the wrestling games were insane. Killer Instinct was insane. Turok 2 was so good. The Star Wars games, Rogue Squadron was incredible. What was it? Shadows of the Empire was incredible. And just hours and hours and hours of fun had on the Nintendo 64. And Mario Kart 64, F-Zero, I think Blitz, right? The football games, the sports games, like 64 had so many incredible games. And the launch was, they delayed the game they delayed the launch for Mario 64 to get done. And it was worth it. I'm glad they did. Just to get that game. And I remember playing the game at launch. I remember I had a friend who bought the system before I did and was playing Mario 64. And I think after I went and played it, I was like, they got me. I got to upgrade, And it was the first system I went and bought with my own money. I was 15, 16 years old. I got it like probably just maybe a year behind because I remember driving to Fred Meyer. I remember it like vividly. The store was called Fred Meyer. It's like a Kroger, essentially, if you guys are familiar with that. And they had an electronics section. And I walked in and I was like, I need the 64. I need an extra controller. I need Mario Kart. I need a memory pack or a memory card and GoldenEye. And we're good to go. Good to go. And I remember like leaving, going home, setting it up. Like it was just so much fun. It's so much fun. And I feel like those moments in time were so special because they weren't like as frequent, like we're kind of spoiled now when it comes to games. There's always something new to play. There's always something that we can go buy that we haven't played yet. And there's that, where these dopamine hits from gaming were a bit fewer and far between. And so it made, I do think it kind of made things a bit more special. And I love that. Cryptic said N64 was so peak for gaming. Ocarina of Time, Majora's, Mario 64, Mario Kart, Banjo. Oh yeah. Yeah. So many great titles. Rare was still killing it on there. Killer Instinct, Perfect Dark, that kind of stuff. Blast Core. There was even some, I can't remember the names of all these now, but there was like almost like a Starship Troopers style game where you were just killing bugs all the time. Or they weren't bugs, they were like aliens that kind of looked like bugs. They're like Pokemon Puzzle League, if you liked Tetris Attack, which was on Super Nintendo, that was great. I think Pokemon Snap and Coliseum or Stadium, right? Like there was so many fantastic games. And then Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, the sports games. Played so much of those, like so many hours of those. Like it was just such a great time. Just a great time. So moving on, number 3, the NES, 1985. Notable launch titles: Super Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, Excite Bike, Ice Climber. Fun facts about the NES: saved the North American video game market after the crash of 1983. Rob the Robot helped rebrand it as a toy to retailers. As a toy to retailers. And this was like, I was young. I was 4 years old. I was playing Atari. I had a neighbor who had the Atari. My uncle was within walking distance, just so he lived at the end of the driveway that I lived on. And I would walk down to his house, borrow games, go back to the neighbor's house and play those games till his mom kicked us out and made us go and play outside. And here comes this new system. And who is this? What is this Mario? What is this? Some of these games were in the arcade. Duck Hunt. I don't know if you guys know this, but Duck Hunt in the arcade, you can shoot the dog. And he walks out and he's all bandaged up and he's got a crutch. Just kind of glaring at you because he laughs at you all the time. Not that I condone shooting dogs. I want to make that very clear, but that was a thing you could not do on the NES. Like you could not do it on the NES, but it was all it was part of the arcade. But that was the first time that it wasn't the first time arcade games were coming home, but they looked closer to what we had in the arcade. Punch Out, Duck Hunt, Excite Bike. These are all games that I loved. And all of a sudden I could play them in the living room. That was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And taking a look at chat, the Terry Wagon says, NES was my first console. Duck Hunt was mind-blowing. It was a mind-blowing thing to my dad, and the reason he got me the console. I love that. The NES holds such a special place in my heart because of how much I played with my father. We played hours. I would help him on the farm. You guys have heard me say it numerous times. I help him on the farm till midnight. We'd come home, we'd pour a bowl of paste picante salsa, and grab some chips, and try to get as far as we could in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, or play John Elway's quarterback, or RBI baseball. I loved the Turtles games on there. The Ninja Turtles games were so good on the NES. Hard. The very first one was hard, but it was good. There was a Star Wars game on there, a couple of them. Just so many great games. And, the Mega Man games and Metroid and Legend of Zelda 1 and 2, it's such a fantastic lineup. And it was I had gone from being into Transformers and Ninja Turtles, maybe a little bit of G.I. Joe and that kind of stuff, to really be becoming a game. I love the Atari, I love the arcade and that kind of stuff. But I mean, the Christmas my aunt showed up with the NES was one of the best Christmases ever. I wasn't even expecting it. I didn't even ask for it because I just didn't think it was in the cards. And lo and behold, I got my NES. It was just such a great system with just hours and hours of entertainment and fun. Number two. You guys ready for this? The Nintendo Switch 2017. Notable launch games: The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, 1-2 Switch, Super Bomberman R, and Snipper Clips. Fun facts: Breath of the Wild is often ranked among the best video games of all time. And at the time, the Switch had become Nintendo's fastest selling console at launch. It's been dethroned. But this was this was one of those things that like the Switch announcement is the whole reason that we are sitting here now talking about Nintendo games, that there are over 1,000 podcasts uploaded to the NPC channel is because of the Nintendo Switch. And it put such a smile on my face thinking about going to the midnight launch. I was with my son and getting Breath of the Wild, picking up snipper clips, getting the Pro controller. I went with the gray. Nintendo fans were so hyped. It just felt like a new era for Nintendo. It seemed like this was going to be their system, that things were going to really take off again. They did. They did. And it's been the last 8 years because of the launch of this system, honestly been life-changing for me. You know, getting to know everybody here in the chat, and those of you that are listening after the fact, like I appreciate every single one of you so much. And it's all thanks to the launch of this system that we're still here chatting about it. And I know some of you might be asking, like, how does the Switch get number 2 with a game like Breath of the Wild? Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. And I could thank the Switch for my new love for Pokemon and JRPGs. That wasn't really there prior to the Switch. And now it is. Snipper Clips is a fantastic game. Don't sleep on it. If you've never picked it up, never tried it, it's really, really worth trying. And I highly, highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, especially if you have people to play couch co-op with or you've got kids at home. It is a lot of fun. The Terry Wagon says, my favorite thing about Switch is being able to play the classic games with the wireless controllers. Me and my brother play it every Thanksgiving since launch. I love that. That's amazing. It's those kind of stories right there. Those kind of memories. Like sitting down, you know, crisscross applesauce in front of the TV, playing like we used to. It's just fun. Terry Wagon says Mario Party games with family members is a riot. Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, so the Switch was amazing. The launch was super fun. The first year of the Switch, I collected every North American release that was put out, and a few like limited run and like the Super Rare, I think, was a company in the UK that was releasing physical games as well. And yeah, that was a fun first year trying to collect every North American release. I got some terrible games. The Troll and I still have sealed. Skylanders. Like, what? Is this real? Is this real? It is. It is. So my number 1 console launch has been the Switch 2. That's my number 1. And it's honestly because of Mario Kart World. I have been waiting a very long time and been working to build the community around Mario Kart. And Mario Kart World really, really delivered for me. It has been incredible getting to see how Switch 1 games look on Switch 2. The community, like, it was just kind of funny, like the different spaces online, you know, so much hate, so much like just talking crap about the Switch and the Nintendo community and all that kind of stuff. And then it goes on to become the fastest selling and sold the most, breaking records, selling the most systems. Like it's insanity. It's insanity. Cryptic says Nintendo shill. We knew it. Yes, absolutely. That's me. But I feel like the Switch 2 has kind of reinvigorated my love for gaming. And I feel like, whereas before I was like, you know, if I'm not playing, it's not that big a deal. I miss playing right now. I wish I was playing more. Wish I had more time to play. because Mario Kart World is incredible. I want to get into Cyberpunk. I want to keep going on my Xenoblade Chronicles X. I wouldn't mind starting like Tears and Breath of the Wild again, just because of how crazy they look. It's just it's crazy. Sunshine said yes. It's wild how the tables have turned, and Cryptic says I agree though. Yeah, it's just been such a fun, and I can't wait for more people to get it. I feel like the community's a little bit split right now, just because it's not a system that's easy to come by. It is a little less affordable than the first Switch, but the more people get it, and the more the community grows. Like I've had such a great time playing Mario Kart with you guys. We're even seeing games like Fortnite on screen right now. Like it runs so much better. It's playable. It doesn't look like you're playing Clay Fighter. Cryptic says I've been enjoying games a lot more since Switch 2 came out. Yeah. I'm in the same boat. And just, playing little bite-sized pieces. Like last night before I went to bed, you guys will laugh at me. I was like, all right, I'm doing a Grand Prix. I needed to be in bed. I try to be in bed by 10 so that I can be up at 4 and get my 6 hours of sleep. And it was like 10. And I'm like, I'm going to do a Grand Prix. First race went great. I then got to the second race and it almost fell on my face. I started to fall asleep. And but like I want to be playing. I want to be playing more. And Donkey Kong has me hyped, like I'm looking forward to that. Cryptic says leading into April, I was kind of doing other things beside gaming because it was slow. Yeah, for sure. The Terry Wagon says, is it your favorite launch or your favorite console or the online connectivity, graphics? N64 is my number one as it introduced the 3D world, then the GameCube, then the Switch for the modernization of it. It's, I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it, right? And I don't think there's any wrong way. I think part of the launch that makes it so much fun, like makes the Switch and the Switch 2 is the fact that I create content around it, right? That makes it so much fun. I like having so many friends that, listen or watch the content and hang out in live streams and all that kind of stuff. Like jumping into Mario Kart World with everybody for the first time when we're all still trying to figure it out and doing Knockout Tour. Like that was amazing. The lead up to the Switch 2 and getting to hang out and meet new friends, like being on different shows like Nintendo Prime show and Mike Odyssey show, meeting people like Sunbro and Thunderstash. And there's just so many people that I've got to meet because of this system. And the community's hype around Switch 2, those people that are enjoying themselves, it's just made it so much fun. Sunshine says, yo, I'm getting like 4 hours of sleep a night. Mario Kart World and the Switch 2 have taken over. Yeah. And I think that's the, when the conversation about price and all that kind of stuff, like I don't want to put the thing down. I want to carry it everywhere. And any moment I get that I can play it, I want to be playing it. Because I'm having so much fun. So the Terry Wagon says, I found your channel when you were streaming Kart World earlier today. It looks fun. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And that's awesome. So glad you're here hanging out and decided to come for the podcast. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I love that. And so, yeah, the Switch 2, my favorite launch. Obviously, I mean, it's the freshest launch, right? It's only a few weeks old, but I've just enjoyed the lead up. I've enjoyed the conversations, and I'm having a great time with it. I'm excited to play more Street Fighter. I'm excited to try Cyberpunk tonight. And like I said earlier, I hope Nintendo adds like gives the retro games a boost in the in the frames and in resolution, I think it would be great. Just so good. Especially after I saw Mario Kart 64 running at that insane frame rate and resolution on a widescreen monitor, nonetheless. Like, it made me want to play that game. I tried it on the Switch too. I'm like, nope, it's still about the same. Nothing, no fancy updates for this other than the rewind function on 64. So, well, there we go. There is my Nintendo console launch rankings. You guys will have to let me know if you enjoyed this in the comments on Spotify or YouTube. You can let me know how wrong I was and what should have been my number one. I'd love to hear from you guys. Cryptic says my favorite launch was Switch because that's when I found NPC. Let's go. Started racing Mario Kart 8 and following year Smash Bros. Cast leading into Ultimate. I love that. And even now we see old faces in Discord come say hi. Yes. Community, man. Community. That's what it's all about. Like, I love it. I love it. It's just been such an amazing 8 years. You know, so many ups and downs, highs and lows, like insane. But through it all, we're still kicking. So you guys are the best. Thank you so much for hanging out for today's Players Pulse. We'll be talking The Revenge of Shinobi tomorrow on NPC Players Pulse, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Bye, everybody.